Hi everybody, my name is April and I am one of Wildside's crew members and marine biologists. And I want to welcome you back to Wildside Wednesdays. This week I'm here to share with you about whale sharks. They're actually one of my favorite animals out there in the ocean. And anytime those of us at Wildside get to see them, it's a lot of excitement. Now, to start off, I want to give you just some general information about the whale sharks. Common question, is it a whale or is it a shark? Well, to answer that, they are actually a shark, and that also makes them the largest fish in the sea. These whale sharks can actually measure out to be about 25 feet on average, and at some times they can actually be about 45 feet in length. And an adult whale shark will actually weigh about 18 tons. Now, with those large sizes mentioned, I want you to know that when they're born, they are only about 16 to 24 inches long. And through that birthing process, these whale sharks are considered to be ovoviviparous, and that's their birthing process. That just means that that female whale shark has an egg inside her body, and then it'll hatch. When it hatches, she will now have a live pup or a baby shark inside her body. Now when it's time for that shark to be born, she'll be having a live birth. And that is what ovoviviparous means, to have an egg and also have a live birth. It is a shark, like I mentioned earlier, but whale sharks are actually filter feeders. So instead of hunting after all these large animals and using their teeth to rake against things or chomp things, they're filter feeders. So what they're going to do is they're going to swim through that water, and as they are, they're going to engulf a large amount of water. And that's going to have lots of krill and lots of plankton. And that's primarily what their diet consists of. When they do that, their mouths are going to be full of all that water, and they have these gill slits on the sides of their heads. And that is actually going to be where they filter that water out. And that krill and plankton are going to go down their throats. Now, for such a large animal, a whale shark's throat is only about the size of a quarter. Now, there are some times where that's not the only things that they eat, the krill and the plankton. Maybe they're not available at that time, and so they have to go after some of the other fish that are really, really small. But enough with what they eat, enough with how they're born. Let's talk about how you can identify them. Now, like I mentioned already, how big they are. If you're out on the water and you're looking through and you see this really large blue or gray animal, and you see all of these white spots along the body, white spots that kind of form striping patterns, you might be in luck. They're going to have two dorsal fins right on their backs. One's going to be right by those pectoral fins, which are the fins along these sides of their body. And then they're going to have one more of those dorsal fins towards their back end of their body, really not close to that tail. And if you look at those heads, it's going to be pretty flat with a mouth that's really wide. It's about 5 feet wide. So that's just a general description of what a whale shark looks like. All of those spots that are on their body are actually their thumbprint. All of those spots are unique to that individual. No two whale sharks are going to have the same pattern. If we ever get the chance and we see a whale shark, we're going to get footage of it. And the reason we're doing this is so that we can enter it into a database. The database that we send these to is the HURC, the Hawaii Unchartered Research Collective. The HURC was founded in 2017, and it is a nonprofit organization. And they are Hawaii's only research organization for whale sharks. And through photo identification, we're able to see where these whale sharks have been. We're able to see if it's a brand new whale shark, maybe it's never been identified before. All of these different factors help us with it. Now, Wildside, we actually have 5 whale sharks that we have identified. These whale sharks were all identified by some of our crew members and captains over the past years. Now this next topic is one that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but it is also very important, and that is actually the threats and endangerment to whale sharks. Whale sharks recently have actually been put on the endangered list for the IURC red list. Their populations are decreasing, and that's from a lot of different factors. Whale sharks are facing lots of threats, one being bycatch. Another one is illegal fisheries, where people are hunting for whale sharks and other sharks for their fins, maybe their meat, and other things in their bodies. They have a lot of cartilage, and there's medicinal purposes in some countries made from that cartilage. And then when it comes to the temperatures changing in the ocean, that can cause an issue as well, even food shortages. I'm going to be answering some questions from our audience, and one of our volunteers, Koa, is actually going to be asking the questions from the other side of this camera. So are y'all ready? Let's do this.
Angie from Alabama asks, how long do they usually live in the wild?
All right, so this is actually a pretty tough question, but a good estimate would be approximately 80 years. Some would actually say up to about 120 years old is how long whale sharks can live in the wild.
We have Emily from Arizona. She asks, how do they communicate?
All right, really good question as well. So whale sharks don't really communicate with each other by making sounds, but instead, since they are a fish, they have what we call a lateral line that goes along their body. That lateral line can help them sense vibrations. So they can communicate with each other or know each other is around by using that lateral line and sensing the vibration of the other animal that's near them. Just another little additive, that lateral line can actually help them detect other vibrations in the oceans, whether it be boats, maybe it's a predator.
We have Caleb from Alabama. Do whale sharks tend to stay in groups, or are they more of a lone shark?
Pretty funny with your words there, if they're a lone shark. But so there's actually two parts to this. When they are traveling out in the ocean, they are pretty much solo. They are a pelagic animal. They can swim out there long distances by themselves. There was actually one whale shark that scientists were tracking, and they tracked it from Panama all the way to the Philippines. Now, the reason I said this is kind of a two-part answer is they can be in groups as well at times. They have hot spots all across the world. These hot spots are places where whale sharks can gather, and they have found up to about 500 whale sharks in some of these areas.
Brianna from Hawaii. How is climate change affecting whale sharks?
So with the climate change, that's actually causing some different migration patterns. Some of the waters are becoming warmer in different areas where it might not have been as warm previously. With that, food sources are actually traveling to different areas as well. So we're seeing a difference in where they're finding food.
And lastly, Aiden from Alabama as well. How can you tell a male from a female?
All right, Aiden. So the easiest way that you can identify a male from a female, one, males are generally going to be smaller than the females. But two, this is a big factor, males have what we call claspers. They are found on the bottom sides of their body towards their tails, and they have two claspers on them, and they are used for reproduction purposes when they're mating. And they kind of look like two rolled fins. That's going to be the big factor of how you can identify a male from a female. All right, guys, that's enough for today. I really want to thank you guys for joining us. And great questions. If y'all have any more, feel free to hit up Wildside Specialty Tours either on Instagram or Facebook. On our Instagram, you can reach us at WildsideHI. And on Facebook, you can find us at Wildside Specialty Tours. Hit us up with more questions you have about whale sharks and other oceanic animals, guys. I had a great time. Join us again next week. Thank you.